Hello my friends. In this video I'm going to show you how to create and how to work with Android Studio constraints layout. This type of layouts is a very important type and it facilitates the designing process for the developers.
So you want to be a professional Android app developer, but you don't know where you should start, what things you should learn. You came to the right place. Welcome to our top bestseller Android app development course, a comprehensive program designed to equip you with the skills and knowledge required to excel in the exciting field of Android app development.
If you create a new project in Android Studio, you will find that the constraint layout is used in the activity_main.xml or all the layouts you will create. This is from the previous video, so I will change this relative to layout to a constraint layout. There are two ways to do that. If you go to design mode in the layout editor, and you can see the component tree it contains a relative layout that contains a text button and other button. You can see if you click on the right button, the right mouse, convert relative layout to constraint layout. Click on yes, include custom views, and click OK. And we are waiting for Android Studio to change the codes. And here we go. If we go to the split mode here, we can see that the layout is changed to constraint layout. Congratulations, guys. You've done changing this relative layout to constraint layout. Or you can delete all the text from here, and you can start by constraint layout, this is the tag, and Alt plus Enter or XMLNS to add this feature for this layout. And then we type here Android, and here Android.com. Okay, match parent, and here match parent, and you can see that the error is solved. Sometimes you will face some unexplained errors in Android Studio, but don't worry, I am here to help you. So please guys, don't be shy, don't hesitate to send me any code, any screenshot of your errors, and if you face any problem. Okay, so this is how we create a constraint layout. We close the tag here and we use this this greater than, and you can see this is the closing. Now we are ready to add the widgets here. But first, I need to add some IDs, constraint 1, whatever you want. You can see the background for black, for example, and so on. Okay. Now, let's see the constraints overview. Let's define a text view here. Match parent, or the width is wrap content and the height is wrap content, and I will use this. Oops. Okay, and the text for this, welcome to our course. Okay, I will make the size is equal, text size is equal to 22 dp or 32. It's good. Okay, in order to be obvious. To define a view's position in constraint layout, you must add at least one horizontal and one vertical constraint for the view. Each constraint represents a connection or alignment to another view, or for the parent layout or for an invisible guideline. Each constraint defines the view's position along either a vertical or horizontal axis. So each view must have a minimum of one constraint for each axis, but often more are necessary. So we need to define one for the vertical and one for the horizontal. Okay? So how to do that? We drag this circle, we hover the mouse in order to get a bigger circle, this bigger circle, and I click on the left mouse and this arrow will appear. And if I drag and drop, I need this arrow, I need to put it to the anchor or to the edge or to the guideline. If I release it, I can see that this attribute is being added. Layout underscore constraint button to button off. These are hard to remember, so I advise you to start using the constraint layouts with the visual editor, exactly like what I'm doing. So if I need this text to view and be displayed here, exactly like here, not in the middle, I need exactly here, not in the middle. So I need to add the horizontal and the vertical constraints. So we succeeded in adding the vertical one. Now, in order to add the other attribute or other constraint, I add this drag and drop this to the right. So I'm going to change it to here. So it's center according to the vertical and according to the horizontal line, but in vertical it's not centered. It's about 228 dp from this button, or you can drag it below like this. Okay, so if you run the application now, you will get this constraint. The view is constrained exactly in the same position where we define it inside this constraint layout. And if you look at the text view XML code, you can see that these attributes are added. The constraint button to button off, the constraint end to end off, and you see that the layout margin end and margin button are added. Whenever you see these numbers, these are added as margins. Okay? This is how we drag and drop, how to define the constraints. If we go to the attributes section here, if I click it and I can see it here, okay, I can click on the layout and I can see, if I click on this view, that the constraint widget is having these attributes: 164 for the bottom margin and 36 for the right margin. Okay, so if I change it to 16, you can see that 16 is getting closer, the view is closer to the right edge. If I change it to 72 and click on enter, you can see it's changing it and making it far from the right edge. So the smaller the number, the closer the view becomes. Okay? This is how we define these margins in the layout editor. Okay, now to delete a constraint, you can click on a constraint. You can click on the constraint and press delete. You can see delete, deleting the widget. Oops, I'm adding this constraint. You can delete it from this, the constraint, like the parent, end to end. If I delete it, you can see that it was deleted. Okay, this is the first way. The second way is to press and hold Control, the command on Mac OS, or the Control in Windows, and then click on the constraint anchor. Note that the constraint turns red to indicate that you can click or to delete it, as shown here. So if I click it, it will be deleted. Okay, so it was deleted successfully. Again, if I want to delete the constraints, if I go to here, if I need to delete this constraint, I can go to here and click on this X in blue, delete button constraint. If I click it, I can change and delete the constraint. Hello, my friends. In this video, I'll continue with Android Studio constraint layouts, and we will see the layout behaviors and the height width modes. Let's select the text view from here, and if we look at the layout from the attributes panel, I'll select the layout here. I can see these flashes, these arrows. These arrows, if I hover, it will indicate for me that's a wrap content attribute. So wrap content is used to expand, the view expands when used. This wrap content, when used, the view expands only as much as needed to fit its contents. So if the text is big and large and lengthy, so the width of this view will be increased or will increase. Okay, if I click on this, so if I click the wrap content, it will becomes fixed. Fixed, you specify a specific dimension in the text box below or by resizing the view in the editor. Okay, the layout width, I can make it as 350 dp, so you can see that there is a space here, but the layout, the view width is fixed 350. Okay, despite the length of the text. If I click on again, this spring, the icon will becomes springy and springs, so it will indicate that it's a match parent, match constraints mode. The view expands as much as possible to meet the constraints on each side, after accounting for the view's margin. However, you can modify that behavior with the following attributes: the layout constraint width, minimum, and maximum. However, if the given dimension has only one constraint, then the view expands to fit its content, exactly like this case. So if I drag and drop this, so you can see that the view expands until it fit its content. Using this mode on either the height or width also allows you to set a size ratio. You can see this size ratio. If I click it, I can see the ratio is 1:1. I can put like 16:9. I can set 1:1 a 1:3 ratio or 3:1 ratio, and so on. Okay, so 16:9, I can set 2:6 ratio, and so on. Okay, guys, this is a very interesting attribute in Android Studio Layout Editor and the Constraint layout. Okay, so this is how we work with the layout attributes. Now let's go to here, and I will drag this text to here. Okay, I will remove its constraints, and by the way, if you run the program now without adding the constraints, any constraints to this view, it will run and the application will show you the text as like this, in this position, because it will start from 0 to 0 dB. This is the left upper corner. Okay, so this is the text. I can remove the ratio and it will become good. Okay, so always add one vertical and one horizontal, at least one and horizontal and one vertical. There is another interesting point I should mention here. If you add a new view, you can click on Infer Constraints, and we'd seen this in the previous videos. So if I click on it, you can see that these constraints are added directly to the view. It allows us to anchor this view in the same position that you drag it in the layout. So we can adjust the view margins by this option here. So to ensure that all your views are evenly spaced, click Margins here and set the default margin to 16. You can see that this view is getting margined by 16, plus the space, because we've selected that it's a constant in the right margin. Okay, the left margin. You can control the views like this. Any change you make to the default margin applies only to the views you add from then and then on. Okay, you can control the margin for each view in the attributes window by clicking on the number that we've seen here. Okay, this is the toolbar's margin button, and this is for the constraint layout width and height modes. In the next video, we'll talk about the different types of layout behavior in the constraint. Hello, my friends. In this video, I'll talk about the constraint layout behaviors. When you add a new view to this constraint layout, you are able to add many constraints in a different way and different behaviors. First of all, let's talk about the parent position. In this parent position, constrain the side of a view to the corresponding edge of the layout. For example, if I drag this circle to this edge, it will give me a constraint. So if I move the widget, you can see this number is changing, which is the margin. And here we go. You can see it's 84, it's 96, and so on. Okay. The left side of the view is connected to the left edge of the parent layout. You can define the distance from the edge with margin here in the attributes or in the XML. Okay. Now, the margin start. You can see this, the margin start. Okay, this is one of the behaviors. If I remove this constraint, it becomes no constraint, or you can use this clear all constraints button to remove all the constraints. The second behavior is the order position. If I add a new button here with wrap content text, click me, and if I add ID BTN, okay? If I drag and drop this circle here, I can now define the order of appearance of two views, either vertically or horizontally. So I will connect this text view to the button. So you can see that the text view is connected to this button. Okay? These constraints do not imply alignment. So text view can still move up and down, and so on. Okay? So a horizontal and a vertical constraint. This we can constrain the text view to the button, to another view, and I can add a constraint for this button. So if I add a new constraint, I can move it right or left. The text view will be changing. So lateral movements will move the other constrained text view or other view. But if I move up and down this button, it will be still constrained to the other view, but it will not affect its movement and its space. So you can see if up and down, no change for the text view. If laterals, the text view will change also with it. Okay. The third behavior is the alignment. We can align the edge of a view to the same edge of another view. For example, if I remove this text view constraint and add it to here, and if I add another constraint to this, you can see it, but I will remove it here. I will change it like this. Drag and drop this constraint, and I can move this text view to set an offset. Okay, so this is the alignment. You can see that the text view is setting an offset here, which is 60 dp. So the left side of text view is aligned to the left side of the button. If you want to align the view centers, create a constraint on both sides. Okay, you can make like this. You can center this text view at the center of the button. So when you move the button, the text view will move also, and it will be and preserve the center and maintain the center line. Okay, this is the alignment. The baseline alignment. Align the text baseline of a view to the text baseline of another view. For example, if I remove these, if I put this text view here and this button, to create a baseline constraint, right click on the text view you want to constrain, and then click show baseline. Click on it so you can see this baseline is shown here. Okay, you can see the baseline. Now, then click on the button. If I need to remove this this constraint, and I need to constraint this view to the baseline of this text view. And to start, I need to show baseline at first. Maybe why it disappeared. And I will, or I can show the baseline here. Click on the baseline, drag and drop it to the other baseline. So the text view here is centered and aligned to the text view and the text which is the included in the button. Okay, you can see how we align the text baseline of a view to the text baseline of another view. Now, in order to constrain to a guideline, this is one of many constraint behaviors, but very important, and you can use it in your apps. So I will clear all constraints here, and here we clear all constraints for these views. Now, to create a guideline, click on guidelines. So I will click on this button, guidelines. I will create a horizontal guideline. Okay, and I will add a horizontal guideline. You can see it, guys. This is a horizontal guideline. Now I can add a constraint for this text view, not to the edge. I can add it to the to this guideline. Also, for this button, I can add this this fixed size or the constraint 136, and for the text view 36. Okay, so this is the guideline you can create. It is invisible to the app, to the user, when running the application.